The alarm screamed through the space station. Captain ran down the metal corridor, his boots hitting the floor hard. He reached the command center in less than a minute. "What do we have?" asked, breathing hard. Lee, the station's chief engineer, pointed at the main screen. "Unknown vessel. It's dying out there. Life support is failing." Watched the damaged ship spin slowly in space. Parts of it were torn open. Frozen air leaked out like white smoke. Someone was inside that wreck, and they were running out of time. "Send the signal. Universal greeting all frequencies," ordered. The response came fast. It was broken, full of static, but it was there. Words in Galactic Common, the language that most alien species used. Humans had only learned it 2 years ago when they first made contact with the wider galaxy. "Help, please, dying." Dr. Park entered the command center. She was the station's, an expert on alien life. "Captain, I'm getting the distress call too, but there's something you need to know." She pulled up a message on her tablet. It was from the Galactic Council, the group of alien governments that controlled most of known space. The message was clear and cold. "Any vessel matching this signature is to be aid. The occupants are. They are banned from all Council space. Any species that helps them will face consequences." Read the message twice. "They're telling us to let them die." "That's exactly what they're saying," replied quietly. Crossed his arms. "Captain, we just joined the galactic community. If we ignore this warning—" "We save them," interrupted. "Prep the rescue shuttle now." The room went silent, then nodded and moved to his console, smiled slightly. The rescue took 30 minutes. The ship was too damaged to dock properly, so the human team had to cut through the hull. When they finally got inside, they found 5 aliens huddled in the only room that still had air. Had seen pictures of different alien species in his training, but nothing prepared him for the. They looked like they were made of crystal and metal mixed together. Their bodies had hard, shell-like skin that reflected light in rainbow colors. Patterns of soft blue and green light moved under their skin, glowing and fatting like breathing. But these weren't glowing much. They were thin, too thin. Their lights were dim. One of them was very small, a child maybe. "We're here to help," said softly in Galactic Common. "We're taking you somewhere safe." The largest moved forward slowly. She was clearly the leader. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. You will be punished for this. The Council can complain all they want," said. "Right now, you need medical help. We can argue about politics later." They brought to the station's medical bay. Doctor worked with her team to figure out what the aliens needed. It turned out that bodies were very different from human bodies. They didn't eat normal food. Instead, they absorbed radiation, the same kind of energy that was deadly to most life forms. "That's why they reject us," the leader said. Her name was, and she was something called a keeper, a teacher and leader for her people. "We absorb radiation. To the Council, this makes us useful, too useful." Brought warm water with minerals dissolved in it. They drank it slowly. "I don't understand. How does that make you outcasts?" Lights flickered sad colors, dark purple, and 300 years ago the Council discovered our. We lived in peace, mining rare metals from radioactive asteroids. Our bodies protected us from the radiation. The Council saw opportunity. The small child, whose name was, stayed close too. The keeper touched the child's head gently before continuing. "They made us slaves. Living batteries, they called us. We were forced to work in their reactor cores, their weapon systems, anywhere radiation would kill other species. For 300 years we had no freedom." Felt anger building in his chest. He knew this story. Humans had their own dark history of slavery. He thought the galaxy would be different, better. He was wrong. 15 years ago we rebelled," continued. "We took ships and ran. The Council declared us galactic criminals. They said we were dangerous, that our radiation absorption made us a contamination risk. The truth is simpler. We were valuable property, and property doesn't get to be free. But you escaped, said. Some of us, maybe 50,000 made it out. We've been running ever since. Every planet refuses us. Every station turns us away. The council made sure of that. Lights turned bitter red. Until today, you're the first species in 15 years to answer our distress call. Looked at his crew, was listening carefully, had tears in her eyes. The other humans in the medical bay all wore the same expression. They understood. How many of you are out there? Asked. How many more ships? 12 more vessels, maybe 3,000 total. We were trying to reach the outer rim, hopping to find an empty world where we could hide. Stood up slowly. But we understand if you cannot risk helping us further. You've already done more than anyone else. Shook his head. Give me the locations of your other ships. We're bringing them all here. Captain started. We're bringing them here, repeated firmly. Then we're finding them a real home. On Titan maybe, or one of the outer colonies. Somewhere they can live without running. His whole body flashed bright white, then soft gold. It was surprise and hope mixed together. The council will retaliate. Let them, said. Humanity has a saying. We don't always follow it, but we try. It goes like this. Those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. We know what slavery looks like. We know what it means to call someone less than human, or in your case, less than person. We're not doing that. Not now. Not ever. He walked to the window that looked out into space. The ships were small dots in the distance, limping toward the station. Besides, added with a small smile, humans are kind of stubborn. The more someone tells us we can't do something good, the more we want to do it. Welcome to human space, Keeper, you're safe now. For the first time in 15 years, believed those words might actually be true. 6 months had passed since that first rescue. The city of New Sol on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, had changed completely. Governor stood on the observation deck and looked out at the colony. The dome stretched for miles, protecting the city from Titan's harsh atmosphere. Inside, humans and walked the streets together. It still amazed her every time she saw it. The radiation zones are working perfectly, said a young engineer. He stood beside, his crystalline body glowing soft blue. My people are healthier than we've been in years. Smiled. The radiation zones had been his idea. Humans needed low radiation to survive, but needed high radiation to thrive. So they built special areas of the colony where radiation levels were safe for but sealed off from the human sections. It was simple but brilliant. How many are in New Sol now? Asked. 3,012, answered. All from the refugee ships. Keeper says more might come if they hear it's safe. Down in the market district walked her security patrol. She was the colony's police chief, and she took her job seriously. At first, she had worried about how humans would get along. Different species, different needs, different ways of thinking. But 6 months in, she had stopped worrying. A human shopkeeper waved at her. Morning, Chief. Right next door, was selling beautiful crystal sculptures. They could shape crystal with their bare hands, something humans found fascinating. The sculptures were selling fast. Stopped to buy coffee from a human vendor. While she waited, she watched the young child playing with 3 human children in the small park nearby. They were playing tag, running and laughing. Lights flashed happy yellow and pink. Never thought I'd see this, the coffee vendor said, following his gaze. Alien kids and human kids just being kids. Me neither, admitted, but here we are. At the colony's research center, Dr. Han was making an important discovery. He was someone who studied how different species think and feel. For months, he had been interviewing refugees, learning their history. Governor, you need to see this, called over the communication system. Arrived at his office within minutes, had charts and documents spread across his desk. I've been comparing history with human history, explained. The patterns are almost identical. Look. He showed her timeline after timeline. They had been peaceful traders and miners, then they were enslaved. They were treated as objects, not people. They were bought and sold. Families were separated. Resistance was punished with death. "It's our story," said quietly. "It's exactly what humans did to each other centuries ago." "Down to the details," confirmed. The council even used the same justifications. They said we're naturally suited for dangerous work, that they didn't feel pain the same way, that slavery was actually protecting them from worse fates. Every lie that humans once told about slavery, the council told about the. Sat down heavily. "Does Keeper know about human history, about our slavery?" "I told her yesterday," said. She cried. Not sad tears, she said, relief tears. She thought maybe we understood because we had lived it too. That evening, an urgent message arrived from Earth. The Galactic Council had sent an official warning to all human governments. The message was broadcast on every news channel. Watched it in her office. A tall alien appeared on screen. It was Magistrate, one of the Council's most powerful leaders. His species looked like giant amphibians with wet skin and large eyes. "Humanity has violated Council law," announced. "You are harboring refugees. This is forbidden. You have 30 days to surrender to Council authorities or face expulsion from galactic trade routes. Additionally, sanctions will be imposed immediately. No Council species will trade with humanity. No technology sharing. No access to jump gates. You will be isolated." The message ended. His communication panel exploded with incoming calls. News reporters, government officials, concerned citizens. Everyone wanted to know what New Soul would do. Took a deep breath and recorded her response. She made sure it would be broadcast to every human colony and sent to the Council too. "My name is Governor of New Soul Colony. I've received the Council's ultimatum. Here is my response: no." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "They are not criminals. They're not dangerous. They're refugees fleeing slavery, 300 years of slavery. And when they finally escaped, the entire galaxy turned its back on them. Every planet refused them. Every station let their ships die in space, except humanity." His voice got stronger. "We humans have our own history with slavery. We know what it looks like. We know the lies people tell to justify it. And we promised ourselves never again. Not for us and not for anyone else if we can help it." She looked directly into the camera. "So here's what we're going to do. They are staying. They're welcome in New Soul. They're welcome in any human colony that wants to accept them. They're not bargaining chips. They're people. And we don't trade away people to make politicians happy." The response was immediate. Across human space, colony after colony sent messages of support. Some governors offered to take in more refugees. Citizens protested the Council's sanctions. Opinion polls showed that 89% of humans supported keeping the. But not everyone agreed. Some human leaders worried about the economy. The Council's sanctions would hurt. No trade meant shortages. No jump gates meant slower travel. Some colonies depended on alien technology. "We'll survive," told her council. "Humans are good at surviving." In the radiation zones, Keeper gathered the community. She had to tell them what was happening. "The council has demanded that humans give us back," said. Her lights were troubled. "The humans are refusing, but this will cost them greatly." Stood up, "Then we should leave. We can't let them suffer for us." "Where would we go?" an older asked. "We've tried everywhere." "Maybe we could find an empty planet," another suggested. "Hide there." Raised her hand for silence. "Captain visited me this afternoon. I offered to take our people and leave. Do you know what he said?" The waited. "He said we're not bargaining chips, we're people, and humans don't abandon people." His lights turned warm gold. "He also said something else. He said that maybe they have something to offer in return." "Like what?" asked. "Our knowledge, our technology, 3,000 years of stellar navigation, jump routes that the Council doesn't control, energy systems they've never seen. His voice grew excited. We've been running for so long we forgot that we're not helpless. We're skilled. We're intelligent. We're valuable not as slaves but as partners. The next morning, met with human engineers. He showed them star charts passed down for generations. The charts showed paths through space that the Council's jump gates didn't cover, hidden routes that could connect human colonies without Council permission. "This is incredible," one human engineer said. "We could build our own network." "We could," agreed, "if and humans work together." Governor received a report that evening. It was from every colony that had accepted refugees. The report showed something beautiful. In every location, humans were collaborating, creating new technology, sharing knowledge, building something neither species could build alone. Smiled, then she sent a message to Earth. "Tell the Council their sanctions don't scare us. We have new friends now, better friends, and together we're going to build something that doesn't need their permission." In the park, played with her human friends. They didn't care about politics or sanctions. They just cared about the game they were playing. And when lights flashed happy colors, the human children laughed and tried to make their flashlights do the same. It was a small moment, but it showed the truth. Different species could live together, could be friends, could build a future together. The Council said it was impossible, but the Council had never met humanity before. The sanctions hit hard and fast. Ambassador Shin sat in his office on Earth, reading report after report of shortages. Medical supplies that came from alien traders were gone. Advanced computer parts, unavailable. Ships that used Council jump gates were stranded. The galactic community had cut humanity off completely. "Sir, there are protests in New York," his assistant said. "People want the gone." Rubbed his tired eyes. "How many people?" "About 5,000. "And the counter-protests?" 50,000. "They're demanding we keep and tell the Council to go away." The assistant smiled slightly. Much more colorful language was used. Allowed himself a small smile too. Humans were stubborn. Even when it hurt, most of them refused to give up But not everyone felt that way. Some Earth corporations were losing money. Some colonies faced real hardship without alien trade. The pressure was building. On the Galactic Council Station 7, Magistrate called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 40 different species gathered in the Great Chamber. "The human infestation must be dealt with," announced. "They openly defy Council law. They harbor criminals. They must be taught respect." A small alien with 6 arms raised a hand. "They are not criminals. They were slaves who escaped." "They were property who stole themselves," corrected coldly. "The law is clear." "Perhaps the law is wrong," another voice said. The chamber went silent. No one questioned Council law, not openly. His large eyes narrowed. "Who said that?" No one answered, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Back on Earth, journalist Song was working on the biggest story of her career. She had been investigating the Council for months, digging through old records, interviewing aliens who would talk quietly in dark corners. What she found made her sick. "Look at this," told her editor. She pulled up financial records. "The Council has been selling labor for 300 years. The profits are enormous. Reactor maintenance, weapons systems, radioactive mining. Every major Council species bought slaves." "Can you prove it?" her editor asked. "I have transaction records. I have testimony from aliens who worked in the system. I have everything." His hands shook with anger. They weren't just allowing slavery, they were running it. The Council itself was the biggest slave trader in the galaxy. "Publish it," her editor said immediately. The story went out the next day. It spread across human networks first, then to other species through back channels. The response was explosive. On 7, Magistrate watched his carefully built narrative fall apart. Some Council species started asking uncomfortable questions. If the council lied about the being dangerous, what else were they lying about? We need to act now, told his inner circle. Before this spreads further, send warships to blockade human space, cut them off completely. And if they resist, another magistrate asked. Then we pacify them, make an example, show the galaxy what happens when you defy the council. 50 council warships moved toward human territory. Admiral Geon received the warning with grim determination. He commanded Earth's defense fleet, and he knew his ships were outmatched. Human military technology was decades behind the council's. We have 30 ships, his tactical officer reported. They have 50, their weapons are stronger, their shields are better. But our crews are more motivated, replied. They're fighting to protect people. We're fighting for the right thing. That counts for something. In New Seoul, Keeper called an emergency meeting with the community. The council is sending warships, she told them. The humans are going to fight. They're going to risk everything for us. The lights flickered with fear and guilt. We should leave, said. We should take our ships and go. Maybe the council will leave the humans alone if we're gone. They won't, said an older. The council doesn't forgive defiance. Even if we left, they'd punish humanity anyway. Stood tall, her lights burning bright white. Then we fight with them. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. We can't fight, someone said. We have no weapons, no training. We have something better, replied. She gestured to show them. Activated a holographic display. It showed a body with energy flowing through it. Our bodies absorb radiation, explained. We store it, process it, but we can also release it in concentrated bursts. Our ancestors knew this. Before we became slaves, we used it to mine asteroids to clear space debris. You're talking about weapons, an elderly said quietly. I'm talking about defense, corrected. The council forbade us from using our natural abilities this way. They said it made us too dangerous. They were right to fear it. We can channel radiation into energy beams. We can overload ship systems. We can fight. But we swore never to use violence, another protested. Lights turned sad but firm. We swore that when we thought running was enough, when we thought we could hide forever, but there's nowhere left to run. The humans are making a stand for us, for the idea that people deserve freedom. I won't let them stand alone. The vote wasn't unanimous, but it was clear. They would fight. Governor received a strange visitor that night. It was an alien she'd never seen before. It looked like a floating jellyfish with tentacles and glowing organs. I am, the alien said through a translator. I represent the people. I don't know your species, admitted. The council cast us out 20 years ago, explained. They called us dangerous because our species shares a hive mind. They said we were too different, too alien, too scary. We've been hiding in deep space ever since. Why are you here? His tentacles waved gently. Because we've been watching you, watching how you watching you stand up to the council. We thought we were alone, but maybe we're not. You want to help. We want to survive, and we think our best chance is with you, with humans and with anyone brave enough to say the council is wrong. Over the next week, more arrived. Aliens from species that the council had rejected, banned, or feared. They came quietly in small ships, hopping for acceptance. There were the who could change their shape and were called untrustworthy. There were the beings that were part biological and part artificial intelligence, deemed abominations by council law. Each species brought skills. They had incredible coordination abilities. They were master infiltrators. They understood technology better than anyone. Ambassador called an emergency session of Earth's government. We're not just fighting for the anymore, he told the assembly. We're becoming something bigger, a place where the rejected can find home, a new kind of alliance. The Free Coalition, someone suggested. The name stuck. 10 days before the council's ultimatum expired, Admiral met with Keeper, and representatives from every species in the growing coalition. We can't win a straight fight, admitted. But we don't need to win. We need to survive long enough to show the galaxy that the Council isn't invincible, that their way isn't the only way. The star charts show defensive positions, offered, places where space itself gives us an advantage. My people can coordinate your ships better than any computer, added. And my people can sabotage Council systems before the battle even starts, said. They planned through the night. It was desperate. It was risky. But it was also something beautiful. 5 different species working together, combining their strengths, covering each other's weaknesses. On the last day before the ultimatum expired, Magistrate sent one final message to Earth. Surrender thee and all other banned species. Submit to Council authority, or be destroyed. President Park had been elected 2 months ago, specifically because she supported She recorded her response personally. Magistrate, we have received your ultimatum. Here is our answer. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Come and try. The Council warships entered human space the next morning. The Battle of Titan was about to begin. Commander stood on the bridge of the warship Resilience, watching the Council fleet approach. 50 massive ships moving in perfect formation. They looked unstoppable. All coalition ships report status, ordered. The responses came in. 30 human vessels, 12 ships that had been converted from cargo haulers to combat craft, 8 bioships that looked more alive than built, 5 stealth ships, 3 hybrid vessels. 58 ships total, against the Council's 50, but numbers didn't tell the whole story. They think we're primitives, said O, the tactical officer standing beside her. They think this will be easy. Good, replied, let them think that. Deep in the radiation zones of Titan's colony, and 200 other prepared for their part. They stood in specially designed chambers where radiation levels were incredibly high. Their bodies glowed brighter than ever, storing massive amounts of energy. Remember your training, Keeper said, walking among them. We're not warriors, we're protectors. We channel the energy, we aim carefully, we defend our friends. His hands trembled slightly. He had never hurt anyone in his life, but he thought about the human children who played with, about Governor who fought to keep them safe, about Captain who answered their distress call when everyone else turned away. I'm ready, said. The Council fleet reached firing range. Magistrate himself commanded the flagship, a massive ship called Righteous Authority. This will be brief, announced to his crew. A few shots to disable their defenses, then we land troops and arrest the criminals. The humans will learn their place. He opened a communication channel to the coalition fleet. This is your final chance. Surrender now. His face appeared on his screen. She smiled. You first. Skin flushed angry red. Fire. The Council ships opened up with energy weapons. Brilliant beams of light streaked across space toward the coalition fleet. But the coalition ships scattered in a pattern that seemed random but wasn't. They were following directions from whose hive mind could process thousands of movement calculations instantly. The Council's first volley missed almost everything. What? Stared at his tactical display in disbelief. How did they fire again? The second volley was more careful, more aimed. It hit 3 human ships, damaging their shields. But before the Council could fire a third time, something strange happened. 10 Council ships suddenly went dark. Their engines died. Their weapons stopped working. Their shields collapsed. Report, shouted. Unknown, sir. The systems just failed. It's like someone hacked them, but that's impossible. Our security is. He was cut off as another 5 ships went dark. The ships were invisible to sensors, tiny craft that had snuck close during the first exchange. They themselves could change shape, squeeze through small gaps, infiltrate systems. They were inside Council ships, physically disconnecting critical systems. All ships target the dark vessels, ordered. Destroy them before they can restart. But the coalition had already moved. Human ships, fast and agile, swarmed the disabled council vessels. They didn't destroy them. They captured them. Boarding parties took control before the council crews could react. "This is O," the tactical officer broadcast on all frequencies. "Council crews, abandon your ships. We don't want to hurt you. This is your only warning." Most of the crews evacuated. They took escape pods and drifted away from the battle. They were soldiers, not zealots. They didn't want to die for magistrate's pride. But still had 35 ships, and he was furious. "Concentrate fire on their main formation, all weapons." The council fleet focused their attack. Energy beams, missiles, everything they had. The coalition's defensive formation buckled. 2 human ships exploded. A bioship was torn apart. On the Resilience, "Watch good people die." Her jaw tightened. "Teams," she said calmly, "you're active, fire when ready." On Titan's surface, in underground facilities built specifically for this moment, the energy cannons activated. 200 working together, channeling the radiation they had stored in their bodies. The energy beams that erupted from Titan were like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Pure, focused radiation turned into devastating weapons. They were invisible to normal sensors. They traveled at light speed, and when they hit council ships, the results were catastrophic. Shields designed to stop energy weapons couldn't handle this. The radiation passed through like the shields weren't there. It overloaded ship systems, fried electronics, made hulls radioactive. 5 council ships simply stopped working. Their crews evacuated immediately. No one wanted to stay on a ship leaking deadly radiation. "What is that?" screamed. "Where is it coming from?" "Titan's surface, sir. They're using their natural abilities as weapons." His eyes widened. "That's why we enslaved them. That's why we forbade this. They're too dangerous." Another beam hit his flagship. Systems sparked and died all around him. The righteous authority listed to one side, emergency lights flickering. But the council wasn't beaten yet. 20 ships were still operational, and they changed tactics. Instead of fighting the coalition fleet, they targeted Titan itself. "If we can't control the planet, we'll destroy it," ordered. "All ships, prepare planetary bombardment." Saw what was happening. "All ships intercept course, protect Titan." The coalition fleet threw itself between the council ships and the moon. Human ships took hits meant for the surface. Bioships wrapped themselves around missiles, sacrificing themselves to stop the bombardment. It was chaos. Ships exploded. Debris filled space. Good people on both sides died for their beliefs. But something else was happening too, something unexpected. 5 council ships broke formation. They weren't attacking anymore. They were leaving. "What are those vessels doing?" demanded. "They're refusing orders, sir. They're saying they won't bombard civilians." More ships began to leave. Council crews who had watched the battle, who had seen the coalition's determination, who had read songs, articles about slavery and corruption. They were questioning everything. If they were so dangerous, why did they only defend? If humans were primitive, why were they winning? If the council was righteous, why were they trying to kill children on a moon's surface? By the time the fighting ended, had only 12 ships left. The coalition had 30. The battle was over. Magistrate said on an open channel, "Leave now or we'll capture you too." Stared at the human woman on his screen. His perfect plan had failed. His overwhelming force had been defeated. By humans. By species the council had rejected. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Yes, it is," replied. "For you it's over. Go home. Tell the council what happened here. Tell them the rejected fought back, and we won." The remaining council ships retreated. They left their dead behind, left their captured vessels, left their pride in the debris field around Titan. In New Seoul, the citizens poured into the streets, humans and, all celebrating together. They had survived. They had won. Keeper found in the energy cannon facility. He was crying, his lights flickering between grief and relief. "We killed people," said quietly. "I killed people." Put a hand on his shoulder. "You defended people. That's different. I won't tell you not to grieve. Every life matters. But remember why we fought. Remember what would have happened if we hadn't." On the Resilience, Commander received a message from Earth. President Park appeared on screen. "Commander, you've done something incredible. You've shown the galaxy that the Council isn't invincible. But more importantly, you've proven that different species can work together, that the rejected can stand tall." "What happens now?" asked. "Now," President Park smiled, "now we build something better, something that doesn't reject anyone for being different. The Free Coalition isn't just about surviving anymore. It's about thriving, together." Across the galaxy, on dozens of worlds, beings that had been hiding in fear watched the news. They saw the battle. They saw the Coalition's victory. They saw humans accepting, saw different species fighting together, saw the Council's fleet retreat in shame. And they started to hope, started to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was finally a place for them too. The rejection was ending. The acceptance was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Titan. Captain was old now. His hair was completely, and he walked with a slight limp from an old injury. But his eyes were as sharp as ever as he stood on the observation deck of New Seoul. The city had grown beyond recognition. The original dome now had 7 extensions. The population had exploded from a few thousand to 12 million, and it wasn't just humans and any more. Watched adrift past the window, its tentacles waving in greeting. A group of walked down the street below, their mechanical and biological parts working in perfect harmony. A family of children shifted their shapes playfully, making each other laugh. 43 species now called the Free Coalition home. 43 species that the Galactic Council had rejected, feared, or tried to destroy. "Still a beautiful sight, isn't it?" said a familiar voice. Turned to see Keeper approaching. She was older too, her crystalline body showing small cracks that came with age, but her lights still glowed warm and steady. "Every time I see it, I can barely believe it's real," admitted. 5 years ago we were fighting for survival. Now look at us." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city thrive. The Free Coalition controlled a third of known space now, not through conquest but through acceptance. Every species that joined brought star charts, technology, knowledge. This hidden jump routes had been the start. Now the Coalition had its own network of gates and pathways, independent of Council control. Trade flourished. Technology advanced faster than ever before. When 43 different species shared their knowledge freely, innovation exploded. "I have something to show you," said. She led to a school on the edge of the city. Inside, a classroom held 30 children, humans and others. They sat together, learning together. A human teacher was explaining mathematics while an assistant helped students who were struggling. In the front row, recognized. The child was almost an adult now. She was helping a young human boy understand a problem. "She wants to be a teacher," said proudly. "She says she wants to help build understanding between species." "She's already doing it," replied. At the Coalition Assembly Hall, President Park prepared to give an important speech. Representatives from all 43 member species filled the chamber. Some sat, some floated, some stood on multiple legs. The diversity was stunning. "Friends," President Park began. The translator implants rendered her words in dozens of languages simultaneously. 5 years ago, we were scattered, broken, rejected by a galaxy that feared difference. Today, we stand together, united not by sameness but by our commitment to acceptance." She paused, looking around the chamber. The Galactic Council still exists. They still control many worlds, but their power is fading. In the last year alone, 7 council species have requested to join our coalition. Not because we conquered them, because we offered them something the council never did: freedom, equality, respect. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval. Cheers, chimes, harmonics, depending on the species. Today, I propose a new galactic charter, President Park continued. A set of principles that every coalition member agrees to follow. First, no species shall be rejected for being different. Second, no being shall be enslaved or treated as property. Third, all member species shall share technology and knowledge freely. Fourth, disputes shall be resolved through dialogue, not violence. A representative's tentacles waved. And if the council attacks us again, then we defend ourselves, President Park replied firmly. But we don't seek war. We seek something better. We seek a galaxy where everyone has a place. The charter passed unanimously. Far away, on the remains of Galactic Council Station 7, things were very different. The once grand station looked shabby now. Many species had left the council to join the coalition. Others stayed but demanded reforms. Magistrate sat in his office, staring at reports. Bad news, all of it. The council's economy was struggling without the species that had left. Their military was weaker. Their authority was questioned daily. "Sir," his assistant said nervously, "another petition. They want to leave the council and join the coalition." Threw the report across the room. "Why? What do the humans offer that we don't?" "According to the petition, hope, sir. They say the coalition gives them hope." Had no response to that. A knock on his door. A messenger entered carrying a data pad. "Message from Earth, sir, from Ambassador Shin." Opened the message with trembling hands. He expected mockery or demands. What he got was an invitation. "Magistrate, the Free Coalition invites the Galactic Council to peace negotiations. We bear you no ill will. We seek not to destroy the Council, but to build a better galaxy together. If you're willing to talk, we're willing to listen." It was signed by President Park, Keeper and Commander. Read it 3 times. His pride screamed at him to refuse, but his practical side knew the truth. The Council was dying. The coalition was thriving. Maybe it was time to admit that the old ways had failed. He composed a careful response. "We accept your invitation to talk." It wasn't surrender, it wasn't friendship, but it was a start. On Titan, in a quiet memorial garden, and stood before a wall of names. These were the people who had died in the Battle of Titan. Humans, all species, all remembered equally. "Sometimes I wonder if they'd be proud of what we've built," said softly. "They would be," replied with certainty. "They died defending the idea that everyone deserves dignity. Look around, that idea won." They placed flowers at the memorial, human roses and crystal blooms, sitting side by side. An emergency alert sounded across the colony. Both end communication devices buzzed urgently. "What now?" muttered, checking the message. It was from the outer colonies, a distress call. A species called that were being persecuted by what remained of the councils. There was under attack. They were begging for help. She looked back at him. They both knew what had to be done. Within an hour, the Coalition Assembly had convened an emergency session. The decision was quick and unanimous. "We answer distress calls," President Park said simply. "That's who we are. That's who we've always been." The new Dawn II, a massive ship named after its original vessel, was prepared for launch. Commander led a fleet of coalition ships from multiple species. They jumped to hyperspace, heading to help people they'd never met. Because that's what the coalition did. That's what made them different. Watched the ships disappear into the stars. Stood beside him, her lights glowing proud gold. "It's not perfect," said. "We still have problems, species that don't get along, arguments about resources, growing pains." "No society is perfect," replied. But we're trying. We're building something based on acceptance instead of fear. That's more than the Council ever did. Do you think it will last? Asked. This coalition of ours. Was quiet for a moment, then she smiled. Do you remember what you told me, the first day we met? You said we were safe. I didn't believe you then, but you were right. She looked out at the thriving city, at the dozens of species living together. This will last because we all remember what it was like to be rejected. We remember the pain, and we're all committed to making sure no one else has to feel that way. That's stronger than any military. That's stronger than any government. That's forever. Down in the city, finished her class and walked outside with her human friends. They were planning to watch a movie together, some human film about space exploration that the students found hilarious because it got everything wrong. They passed a news screen showing the rescue fleet jumping to help the. None of the young people were surprised. Of course the coalition would help. That's just what you did when people needed you. Think we'll meet soon? One human student asked. Probably, replied, her lights flickering amused blue. The coalition keeps growing. Soon we'll run out of space in New Sol. Then we'll build more cities, another human said. More colonies, more room for everyone. It was said so casually, so matter-of-factly, as if accepting refugees and building homes for them was the most natural thing in the world. And for these children, it was. They'd grown up in the coalition. They'd never known a world where people were rejected for being different. They couldn't imagine turning away someone in need. This was the real victory, not the battle, not the territory, this. A generation growing up believing that acceptance was normal, that helping others was expected, that diversity was strength. Magistrate's peace delegation arrived the next week. The negotiations were difficult. Old grudges ran deep, but slowly, carefully, the two sides found common ground. The council couldn't return to the old ways. Too many species had left. Too many people had seen that there was a better option, but they could reform. They could change. They could become something new. It would take time, maybe decades, but it was possible. On the first anniversary of the peace talks, a ceremony was held in New Sol, and Keeper were honored as the founders of the Free Coalition. Gave a short speech. He was very old now and speaking was difficult, but his words were clear. We didn't do anything special, he said. We just answered a distress call. We just helped people who needed help. That's not heroic. That's just being decent. He looked out at the assembled crowd, humans and dozens more. But apparently, in a galaxy that had forgotten how to be decent, doing the right thing was revolutionary. So maybe that's the lesson. Kindness is radical, acceptance is rebellion, and love is the strongest force in the universe. The crowd stood and cheered. It went on for several minutes. When it finally quieted, Keeper spoke. They have a saying. It translates roughly to, in the darkest night, even the smallest light can guide you home. Humanity was that light for us. The Free Coalition is that light for the galaxy, and as long as we keep shining, the darkness cannot win. Years later, when both had passed away peacefully in their sleep, their words were carved into a monument in the center of New Sol. The galaxy had changed. The rejected had become the accepted. The outcasts had built a home, and anyone, anywhere, who needed help could look to the stars and know that the Free Coalition would answer. Because they had been rejected by the galaxy, but humanity had accepted them, and together they had changed everything. The end.